One question that I've been asked a decent amount is, what are the best free research tools for PrizePicks and Underdog in NBA DFS? So I figured, why not make a video about that? So I would say step one in everyone's research process would be just looking at the NBA DFS news for the day. Now, there are plenty of sites that do this. Fantasy Labs is one of the first ones to do it. They have it sorted by position, and then you could just look at all the news. I went ahead and searched by MarketSmart to see what his status is on the day. They actually don't have that update just yet, which was a little bit shocking to me, but they have all the news out from the previous night. So this is something that you would go through midday. Now, they do have their Twitter account there as well. So does Underdog NBA. They tweet out basically the exact same news. For me, I don't really like the scrolling news there. I actually like to look at stuff like the starting lineups, and that'll show me who is out. And so I'll show you guys a pretty awesome site to see that information. And simply, you could just type in NBA starting lineups. And it's going to pull up RotoWire as one of the first ones. And so the thing that I like about this website is the fact that you can see the expected starting lineup, and it'll turn green once the lineup is confirmed. And you can see which players are listed out as well, or which players are game time decision. So that's just a nice starting point there to see like who's out, who's a game time decision. Now, Roto Grinders kind of does that in a way as well. They'll show you the game over and unders with it, which is pretty nice. And you can see the point spread as well. Maybe you can narrow down your list of games that you want to attack. And lastly, just NBA.com. This is probably one of the most underused stat tools in DFS, NBA DFS. So if you just type in NBA starting lineups, one of the first ones will be NBA.com. And so you can sort by, this is their projected lineups. You can sort by this. But the tool that I like best about this is that you can see the game preview associated with that. You click on that link, and not only will it give you a game breakdown, okay, which is awesome, it'll show you guys the games that they've already played on the season. So you don't have to spend time searching maybe ESPN or something like that. So I think this is a really great tool. So another awesome tool on RotoWire here is the on-off court, and this is all free. Where they get you is you can't export any of their data, but let's click on that. So we have news that someone like MarketSmart has been ruled out. So what you do is you add the player from the off-court list, and we scroll down to MarketSmart. We select him. We can then view the stats. You can click on per 36. I typically like to look at that instead of the totals. You can see then which players get the most minutes with MarketSmart off the court. You can see the usage rates, the points per 36. Then you could also scroll down the differential per 36. So where do they get added bonuses there? So like, let's sort by points. Malcolm Brogdon gets 7.4 more points per 36 with MarketSmart off the court. So in theory, we could then just go ahead and pull up the PrizePicks or Underdog board and hopefully find an edge there. So let's try that. So let's use Jason Tatum's points as an example. He is set at 30.5 for this game. Let's compare that to what he typically averages with MarketSmart off the court. And guys, obviously the more players off the court, the more edge we could gain by using a tool like this. And this is just the piece to the puzzle. It's NBA DFS. A lot of stuff adds up into this. We can actually see with MarketSmart off the court, Tatum loses points, 2.3, and we can see his points per 36 is going to be 28.6. So in theory, as long as those minutes are around 36, we are at least saying that this would be a prop and maybe one that we just want to stay away from. But it would suggest that the under would be the way to go here. And so we could use the on-off court data and then potentially look at the game logs as well to determine if we think this is a good bet. Another way we can do that is by maybe looking at like projected minutes. Now, RotoWire does have a minutes report. It's fine. It works. It kind of shows you guys last 3, last 5, last 10, all. We can kind of see when they've been out as well. It's just kind of a nice, simple view of that data. And now I just typed in projected NBA minute or projected NBA DFS minutes, and sportsline.com was something that popped up. And so we can kind of just see their general projections, but really what I'm focused on are the minutes, and specifically for Jason Tatum. So he's projecting at around 37. So that tells us that in theory, this prop of 30.5 is probably a little bit too high. But how do we maybe confirm that? Well, let's go ahead and apply another kind of check and balance that we can do. That would be go to any sportsbook that is out there and compare the lines that we are getting on PrizePicks or Underdog and see if we get an edge there. We can also see which games have the potential to be blowouts, thus are going to be less predictable by looking at the spread. Typically for me, I like to kind of stay away from bets that are in games of 7.5 or more either way. That's just my kind of general rule. You guys don't have to follow that. But if we wanted to see the projected points for someone like Jason Tatum, we can see that it is basically a 50-50 split. So obviously the sportsbooks, they know what they're doing. So this would probably be the top thing that I would tell you to do, is to go to the sportsbooks to compare the props that we are getting. And so typically speaking, especially comparing PrizePicks, is we are not going to get a number that is greater than like minus 140 for a specific player. Now they're saying here that Ben Simmons is minus 130 to get the under 9.5 points. And so for a line to be at minus 130, they're basically saying that it has a 56.5% chance to hit. And if it's plus 100, about 50. So in theory, we could, let's just pull up Ben Simmons here. Well, we can see that PrizePicks already has this number down to 9. So that'd be a bet that we would stay away from. I'm going to show you guys one that kind of correlates together. So one that I was able to find was Mikal Bridges under 17.5 points. Okay, minus 130. We can see PrizePicks has this set at the same number as well, under 17.5. And so you guys might be saying, well, he's gotten over that average the last 5 games, and you might not know why that is. Well, that is why all the other steps that I just told you about kind of come into play. It's because CP3 had been out the previous games, and basically all the rest of the Sun starters had been banged up, and now CP3 is back, and also this game with Dallas is going to be a close game, and it's going to be a lower scoring. So that is another way to do it. There is another step that you can do. I like to use DraftKings Sportsbook because when you're scrolling through the board, it will typically match up the best with PrizePicks board as well. It's very easy to see the numbers that correlate with the board on PrizePicks. I'll show you guys another step that's going to be a little bit more advanced, but also an easier way to do it. And this is free, so it's not going to be perfect. So basically, the issue with a site like this, it's going to be comparing all the sportsbooks out there, and we can see how favored a prop is. What I like about this tool specifically is you can see the open line that was out there, which is obviously pretty great. You can see it's how it's adjusted throughout the day based on the news. So we want to see, just let's compare it against Mikal Bridges. We can see that it did open at 17.5 across the board, and all the boards were pretty much saying minus 130, which to me, I like to see that they were all kind of agreeing with that. We have seen that the line has shifted to maybe 16.5 for the over, because a lot of people probably bet the under 17.5 based off of the morning odds. We can still see DK Sportsbook has it set at 17, FanDuel Sportsbook minus 122, and we can just keep scrolling and seeing which ones have which. Okay. And now personally, this is just like shopping around for the best odds. I kind of like just using DK Sportsbook. That way I'm getting the information from one source, and it's just easier to follow for me. But there's nothing wrong, and I would say it's more encouraged to do this. I just feel like you kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit more doing it this way. And a site like this, and this is where if you wanted to pay for like PrizePicks and Underdog odds, you can. And a site that has that included in it would be a site like OddsJam. Okay, they'll have the PrizePicks and Underdogs props in there, and they'll update automatically throughout the day, but that'd be something you would have to pay for. And if this video is successful, I probably will show you guys the best paid sources you can use as well, because obviously if you want to take that next step, that would be one that you can do. So right now I'm just trying to search for some odds that we are getting for the best that kind of correlate with what we're trying to find. And really the best one that we're going to get is going to be Patrick Williams here, under 11.5 points. We can see the line is set at minus 128. That's pretty much the best one that we're getting. So let's go ahead and see if PrizePicks has that as well. And they still have it set at 11.5 as well. So what I would typically like to do is kind of go through and like double check this. Maybe do the game preview on NBAcom. Okay, that is something that you can do. So I feel like we kind of had the general census of like starting points and whatnot. I'm going to show you guys 2 other steps that you can easily do that are going to help your research process. So a site like PrizePicks or a site like Underdog Fantasy is only going to show you guys 5 for PrizePicks and like 3 for Underdog in terms of game logs. So I love using a site like DraftKings. You can use FanDuel. You can use Yahoo as well. Yahoo's a pretty good source as well that no one uses. It's got everything built in there as well. That way you're not jumping to different sites. And Yahoo is powered by RotoWire, which I already showed you guys, and like BetMGM. So that data is already kind of together in one spot. So with DraftKings, you can look at the game log for, let's say, Patrick Williams. We can see further than five of his last games, okay? And what I like to do is I like to scroll down and see what he did against, who are they facing today? Charlotte. See what they did last time against Charlotte. And it's really going to be for you guys to decide from there. We can see he had a pretty good night shooting, 7 for 9, 2 for 3 from 3-ball range. Didn't have that many rebounds, just, had a better night shooting. We know Charlotte is a poor defensive matchup, and that's another key thing that we can look at, we can use the OPRK, the opponent rank on DraftKings Sportsbook or on DraftKings or a site like FanDuel to see which are the best matchups. So going back to that Mikal Bridges one, the prop of 17.5, well, not only can we see his points per game as well as an average here in a nice, easy to view fashion, but you can also see his game log. Then you can see the matchup as well. In theory, has a good matchup, but if we sort by all and we look at all the Phoenix's matchups, we can see for the most part, Dallas is a tough defense with their opponent ranked. So that is why someone like Mikal Bridges is actually getting a lower number for his over and under. And now lastly, I'm going to use PrizePicks and PGA as a good example of this. So one thing with NBA DFS is that you are typically not going to get a prop that is poorly mispriced compared to their projection. In football, you'll get some, and let's see if I can find one here, where they don't match up, and there's an edge just in that sense. So like, here's a good example. Brock Purdy, 215.5 over and under passing yard on PrizePicks. On DK Sportsbook, 22.5. We just typically don't get that on NBA DFS slates or in NBA DFS slates. That's just typically not there. And so I'm going to use golf as a good example of like how you can compare the sites. We can see right now PrizePicks is like having these strokes projections here at 73 pretty much across the board for the good plays is what they're saying here. Now, if I were to go into Underdog, and this is already locked, but we could compare and see the difference of the odds here. So let's look at Luke List. Underdog has it set at 72.5. PrizePicks has it set at 74. And so for golf specifically, that is a huge difference. And so you can find an edge here. And for this specific example, the reason why PrizePicks is higher is because it's supposed to be a poor weather day, okay? And so they're projecting the scoring to be much higher. And so to me, the edge here would be to bet the higher for Luke List. And that's going to be the same for all these players. Like Jason Day, 72 strokes here. He's 73.5 on PrizePicks. So here's another perfect example of that, guys. For NBA, Bojan is projected to get 21.5 points on PrizePicks, 20.5 points. If we go to Underdog, they have it set at 21.5. So we can see there's some sort of edge there. Let's go ahead and compare it to a sportsbook, and we can see that DK Sportsbook has it set at 21.5. Pretty much an even push there. And so this is where we could kind of use the two together plus with the sportsbook and see, is there an edge here? I would say find a number that's going to be like minus 120 and lower than it should be. That's going to be huge in the long term. But that's all for this video, guys. I just want to get you out this video. Kind of the free research tool. There is other stuff out there that does pull in PrizePicks and Underdog odds, which would then make your research process more simple. And that's a video that I can do as well. I just been asked a decent amount about the free research tools that are out there. These are some of the best ones that I like. I just touched on like a few of them. Okay, there's so many out there. The NBA DFS industry has so many great tools out there. I literally touched on maybe 2% of them. So it's loaded. If you guys have a different tool that you use, please let me know in the comment section below. This is very much the exact opposite of DraftKings and FanDuel, where we are playing against each other. So it doesn't really make sense to help each other out. No, we are playing against PrizePicks. We're playing against Underdog. We want to help each other out as much as possible. So if you guys do see an edge, let us know in the comment section below. All right. Thanks for watching.